Thanks for listening to Planned Brotherhood. Our Uncle Barry returns this week to give us a rundown of what he feels about his siblings. Things get mildly uncomfortable.
For a while, yeah.
He plugs his band.
Yeah, he plugs his band. That's not the uncomfortable part.
No, they'll have to find it for themselves.
Stay tuned. So we left off talking about what a snooze the convention is.
Is that actually where we left off? All right, let's get back to it. It was mainly a pain in the ass because it was a matter of, I'm sure we said this, but putting on a suit.
I remember the last time
middle of summer, sure.
The last time I went pretty much in street clothes, brought a skateboard with me.
Brought a skateboard.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's funny because they won't even let strollers in the place. Bringing a skateboard.
That was my rebellion. And then we left
but
after.
You're still going.
We left maybe after an hour and just was skating around downtown Tacoma. I think we actually eventually.
Who's we?
Me and Chris.
Okay, figured.
And then we eventually went to Tim's house.
Made a ramp out of one of the apostates.
Took their "Watch Out for the Watchtower" sign and hauled right over him. We went and picked up Tim, who put on his best fedora and South Park shirt, and brought him back with us.
I think he alone funds South Park merchandise.
Yeah.
No, it's always been the same T-shirt.
Oh,
Well,
just the same one. Okay.
Those bastards did kill Kenny, so
okay.
he's got to support.
He's getting the word out there.
But let's talk about. Do you remember when you came to live with us in Tacoma?
Oh no, I don't
Sure
remember
you
that
remember
whatsoever.
How old were you? Were you?
I don't remember the absolute worst year in my personal history.
Is that what it was? Was it a year?
It was almost a year. Yeah,
Almost a year.
I was going to guess longer than
Felt
a
like
year.
2 years, yeah.
Yeah.
No, it probably felt like 2 years.
For you, apparently, how old were you when you came to live? This is when our family was still a family.
What year is this? 2009.
Right.
That was 97. So
12 years ago.
So 12 years ago. So it's 25, 26.
Okay. And what was it like for you coming to live with our family?
We were
Who you
very
Well, it was-
decided screwed up anyway.
It
right?
was my choice.
No, absolutely, sure.
I just wanted a change.
Did you ask or were you
I asked.
offered? Okay.
I asked your dad if it would be okay. I just wanted a change. I had been back in Yakima since 94. I'd moved to Yakima 92, came back at the end of 93 because, as I told you earlier in my truck, I was starving to death.
Mm-hmm.
And went back to Grandma's, gained 120,000 pounds, and then...
No exaggeration.
No exaggeration. It was bad. It'd be airlifted everywhere.
So then what made you decide you wanted to live in Tacoma again?
I don't know. I don't know what it was exactly. Just a need for
Patrick
a change.
lived there, your good friend Patrick.
Pat lived there. Sam was kind of around. Yeah, still in Gig Harbor, I think. He might have... I don't know where he... I think he was in Gig Harbor at the time. And so, my musician friends and stuff although we ended up I don't think we ever got together to play during that whole time I was there.
You guys didn't hang out much that I saw in the time that you were there.
And I became kind of a hermit, kind of.
Yeah.
I didn't
I got
have
the impression,
any social life.
only reflecting back on it, you were in a pretty dark place, yeah?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And I was...
I was terrible.
I can't speak for PJ, but I, for one, was primed about your coming to live with us.
Yeah.
97, I would have been 17. Still on the point where I idolized you, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, here he comes to live in my bed. I get to see how he eats and lives."
Great.
I really did think that, and probably held on to that for a few months. But it was weird the time that you lived there, and I'm not putting blame on it. I mean, we're going through. I'm sure our family was a mess the whole time you were there.
I guess, yeah. I mean, I knew you guys pretty well, and I knew I would get along with you two at least.
You didn't think it would
but
be
did we get
weird?
along?
What was
For the most part, yeah.
What did you think about coming to live with my mom?
I don't know. I have no idea. I knew we probably wouldn't talk much, and we didn't. I've never in my life had a conversation with her.
Yeah, it's hard.
It's impossible.
A back and forth conversation. We've never.
It's
had
almost
one.
impossible.
I've even had one with Sherry. I've had a few conversations with really good conversations.
So it
with
was
her.
Russ's wife.
But my brother Russ's wife. Yeah, and that's where I live right now because I'm 37 and a loser.
Right.
But I live at my brother's now, and I get along fine with Sherry. Hi, Sophie. Sophie.
She'll do this from time to time.
And we get along fine, but I I don't know. As far as my brothers and sisters-in-law go, I don't know. Dave, your Aunt Lori's ex-husband,
right?
We were never close. I was never close with Ian. I was never close with Sherry, with anybody.
Yeah,
anybody.
Aside from you, at least I felt like when I was younger. Although, did we already talk about the home videos where I'm just being an asshole the whole time?
I think so.
Okay. But yeah, from an early age, Barry was the shit to me.
Yeah.
And so
that's me.
That's why it was so exciting. I mean, I don't know. We weren't that far, despite the fact that you were my uncle. What are we, like 8 years apart?
Something like,
37, 29.
Yeah. So 8 years.
So it was more like you were my older brother that I never saw. I actually...
Right.
I became so obsessed with you at one point that my dad, remember when he was going through, this is before you lived there.
Okay.
He was going through his motorcycle phase, like he owned a motorcycle.
Yeah.
And he had that one friend within the religion that would go and ride with him. And there was a chance that you were going to come and hang out like for the day.
Oh, I hate this story. I feel bad to this day because
it's not
of
your
this story.
fault. It's not your fault.
It isn't my fault, but I was so self-absorbed and I just
You wouldn't have changed my mind. Even if you tried to talk me. But anyway, the situation is that we were like 12 or 13, and Dad went on a motorcycle camping trip for the weekend. And because I knew Barry was coming to town, I opted out. And instead, I remember Mom was friends with Janice then, and I sat there and watched Fried Green Tomatoes as you were out there, roughing it and having a good time on the back of a motorcycle.
And why wasn't Barry there?
That was a great time with Dad. Like, that was a really fun camping trip.
Yeah, why weren't you there?
Probably
Barry?
because
I don't know. I think I went because I had been out of town for a while. I went to hang out with Pat and Sam probably.
Yeah, and I wanted to be a part of that clip so badly,
and just completely ditched you because I'm a douchebag.
Well, I also understand that as a 12-year-old, I've seen it on home videos. I was annoying as fuck.
So you did come to town then?
Oh yeah. He just didn't come see
me.
Well, the thing is, I heard about this like years later from your dad. Like, oh, Nick was so disappointed because you went and hung out with Pat and left him behind. And I'm just like, oh my god, I felt like such a jerk forever. Like I still do. Whenever that pops into my head, I think about it once in a while. I'm like, just ugh. Because I have the all or selfish gene. I don't think about anyone but me.
Yeah,
that's why I'm single again.
But
according to Amber, that's why I'm single again.
But back to when you were living with us. I don't want to get away from that. So what happened there? Like, you got a job. You got a night job.
Yeah.
So that had a lot to do with why we didn't see you. You weren't really going to meetings.
Not really, no.
I don't remember a single time in the time that you lived
there.
there
Were a few, yeah.
Were there?
Yeah, there was a time when
maybe a few.
I remember one meeting in particular being at with you, and this, for the sake of our listening public, this does not happen often. In over 130 years of publication, this rarely happens. I found a grammatical error in a watchtower.
Oh, yeah.
At a meeting with you, and I pointed it out to you. And it was the word theirs. They had spelled the word theirs, like theirs is a something something, and they'd spelled it THEIR''S.
Oh.
I was like, wow, you never see that. It was crazy.
It's funny, though, that all the years of going to meetings, those are the things you remember.
Yeah.
That's what I found.
Smurf walked out of the kingdom.
Which we've touched on before. Those demons. Yeah. Once they take over a Smurf, it's all downhill.
Yeah, that's what you call urban legend there. I don't know if I believe that or not.
Were you one, and just as a reminder, meetings is pretty much church except for Jehovah's Witnesses.
Right.
That's how we. I mean, I know
it's a matter of semantics. You know, church is a kind of a vague word. You know, you think of church, you think of a building, when the real translation of the word should be congregation, which gives it a more personal feel.
Sure.
A congregation can mean one local group of people, but it can also mean the entire worldwide group of people. Mm. You know, it gives it a more broad.
But when we break it down to stories,
definition.
the stories we like to tell, it's basically the same thing. Our dad falling asleep and being really loud with his snoring.
Oh my goodness, I didn't know about that.
And then remember, this is inappropriate, of course. You're in the house of God, but I remember it being really rewarding when we could make somebody bust up laughing to the point where they had to get up and go to the bathroom.
Oh yes,
as to not make a scene.
I remember once during prayer, I nudged you and pointed to the kid in front of us, and you could see his underwear sticking out of his pants
during prayer.
And that really got you going.
It's because it was so elegant. You didn't even have to say anything. You just nudged and pointed, and I was over the top laughing.
Nothing funnier than underwear when you're a kid.
One other story, you'll have to get the background on this, but we were pretty young, and what was it? You had a business card from a kid in town that you hated.
It was Barbara, the girl I loved.
Oh, I remember Barbara.
And the kid I hated started Clint and Barbara's lawn care service.
Clint was the kid you hated.
Yeah, and they went to that machine that was in Fred Meyer where you could make business cards, and they made one. And after they paid all their money to get them made and bring them home, they realized how many spelling errors were in it. So basically, they were
And later worked for the Watchtower Track Society.
So they
later worked for any business in Yakima.
They went through their dozens of business cards and just basically whited out everything that was wrong with it, and then filled it back in with pen. And I happened to have one, and I showed it to my mom, and
During
she thought
a meeting.
it was the funniest thing on. You heard the
For no reason, she just
silence.
started. It almost makes it seem like Mom has a good sense of humor.
You
based on
hear,
the story.
it's just silence for a minute.
There's something about those close quarters where
Yeah.
everything has, there's the
Yeah.
possibility that you're just going to keel over with laughter.
Right, and you see her shaking, and then all of a sudden you hear the.
I was gonna say, isn't your mom a snorter?
Yeah, maybe that's what
Yeah.
it was like.
Yeah.
But then also she had mascara running down her face because
No
she was
kidding.
crying. She was laughing so hard.
It was that bad. Wow.
Yeah. set off,
and it
yeah.
was nothing. He just showed it to her.
Yeah.
That's the thing, is you could make people laugh. Oh, what was the other one? It's a Pete and Pete quote. You said it.
Oh, Dad was doing his obnoxious dad thing, trying to just annoy me by pointing at me. And I look at you and I say,
Oh
yeah.
no, he gave you a thumbs up because you'd just given a talk. Wasn't that it? Or gave me a thumbs up because I'd just given a talk.
I don't know. I remember him trying to make me laugh, and all I said was, "Yeah, I'm making him my pants over."
And that sent me over the top also. I think I actually had to go outside. That one made me
gosh.
laugh so hard.
Right now, all your myriads of listeners are Googling Pete and Pete, wondering what crap is that.
No, they know. They know.
Okay.
We've connected with them over Pete and Pete before.
Oh, all right.
That's probably not true.
Just so you know, I've listened to like 3 episodes. I'm sorry.
Oh, we don't care. It's better that you haven't heard anything. Trust me. People are wondering, why would he have the gall to go there right now? So, okay, so the same time that you came to live with us for that 10 months or whatever was the same time we got our family computer. And I also think that was a means for everybody to ignore each other.
That changed everybody's life.
It did.
Yeah.
Well,
And you were there
obviously.
for all of it.
Except mine. I pretty much stayed
I
away
became
from
really like obsessive and stuff like that.
Well, we all did, but
like I fell in love with the Tabors. I'm sorry, the T's.
yeah. Well, let's come up with a fun nickname for them.
the saber-toothed tigers.
The Saber-Tooth Tigers. Okay.
They were a family of Jehovah's Witnesses.
Yeah.
Who we
How did
must
that
have-
all start?
We
Who
must have
remembers?
met them in some
I
Jehovah's
think
Witness
your
chat
mom met Carrie over like through a chat room or something.
Their
Right.
mom.
And
So
they lived
a
not
lady-
very far away.
Right. Pretty far.
Well, far enough, like almost to Portland. Just across the bridge from Portland.
So yeah, it must have been like some Jehovah's Witness AOL chat room or something.
Mm-hmm.
And then my mom and this lady Carrie became internet friends and decided my mom didn't have any real friends there in the area, and so they bonded online or whatever. And then I don't
Because
even know
when
where
you're
to start
talking
with
to
this.
mom online, it's easy to love her. You don't have to look at her gut hanging out, and her spitting all over you when she talks.
And there's
just-
almost a personality. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I said it.
No,
Right
it's
there.
still the misspellings would turn
Yeah.
me right off.
Yeah.
But Carrie was a sweet enough lady. I don't even remember how it all started.
She had a daughter, Picky Teen, who
That'll be her
daughters.
nickname, sure.
Yeah.
a Picky Teen. There was
That was
another
her
little
name,
girl,
yeah.
and then there was the
Teen Chopper.
the stepdaughter. That was Teen Chopper.
Teen Chopper. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
spelled
Oh, man.
Chopper. That was what was her name?
Chrissy.
Chrissy. That's right.
I
and then
had
Stephanie was the
The
little one.
hugest crush on her. And not
Really?
because- yeah.
Yeah.
Because she was traditionally attractive for a kid my age.
I suppose.
Which
yeah.
at the time I was like, what, 15 or 16?
I remember Valerie telling me that Chrissy would kiss
Picky
boys
teen?
and take off parts of her clothes for her. I was like, oh my god,
Just gave you fuel for later
give me
on.
some
Yeah.
jerk off fantasy.
I remember the first couple times they came over to visit, I would always try and incorporate Chrissy into pictures because I wanted them.
Yeah,
I wanted them.
And the thing is we would meet up with them, and you would
Really, Sophie?
you would sit there talking to them, and I would be so inside my shell that I'm just not talking to anybody.
Sure.
I'm sitting over there with the adults, just listening to them talk.
Yeah. So how old were they at the time?
13.
I think when I met Valerie, she was just turned 14. Yeah.
And there was some weird stuff going on there. I don't remember exactly. I remember that it seems like we all shared a mutual crush on Valerie at one point.
Yeah.
Even though you claimed to hate her. And for the most part did.
No.
Valerie was very-
Picky Teen. Let's call her Picky Teen.
My bad.
Okay, Picky Teen was very lovable, but like sort of dumb as a post. But I don't think it was all real.
No, Sophie. No. Sorry. Go ahead.
I don't think her even though she wasn't.
Oh, you made her cry now.
She's fine. Just talk through her.
Just talk like she's not here. That's what we
Okay,
do.
she had this dumb blonde thing, but she wasn't blonde. But I don't think it was all real. Like, remember, she would never laugh at jokes. She'd always claim she didn't get it.
Yes, I do remember that. That was her catchphrase for a little while.
I didn't get it was kind of her catchphrase, yeah. And so she was very lovable, very sweet. It took me a long time to realize that actually Teen Chopper was a much more interesting person. The older girl was
She was
actually
definitely hotter,
was
that's
actually well, she was actually much more interesting, and I learned a lot about her in a public pool, which sounds horrible. But they were in Tacoma for a convention at the Tacoma Dome, staying at this hotel room, and I was living at Bob's house at the time, and they invited me over to go swimming with them, and Valerie was like, or I'm sorry, Picky Teen was like too shy to swim. And I was like, all right, you're an idiot.
I've been too shy to swim. It happens.
And so I swam with the other girl, and she was absolutely delightful. We had never really had a conversation before, and she was a joy to be around at that time.
But do you think it made the parents nervous that you were older? Because this
absolutely.
is when you were 25.
It's something I still go through.
Yeah.
It's something I still go through because I keep my friends young. I tend to keep all my friends young. Guy friends and girlfriends are almost always younger than me.
Why do you think
Jake,
that is?
My friend Jake is 25. My
That's
my
not
friend
that young,
Chelsea
though.
is 16. Almost she'll be 17 in August, and we're good friends. Now I'm also really good friends with her parents. Her parents are awesome. They're very cool with me. So they don't see they know there's nothing bad going on. I don't have these horrible motives. I'm not a predator.
Right, but okay, but with Picky Teen, was it kind of like you were falling in love with her though? Like there was something romantic.
There was something weird in my head. Yeah, there was something strange going on. I kind of saw her as a little sister, but at the same time, it's like, yeah, I don't know. I was just like, I
almost felt like we were all three feuding for the same girl, and that was weird given the age separation.
This is a little embarrassing because I've never really talked about this out loud before. But yeah, it is kind of like that, and it was very bad, and I had to, I even apologized to them for it, and to her parents.
Eventually, at the time, I know you were pissed about it at the beginning.
I was, but
when the family would come over, you would not even make an appearance.
Yeah, I was really, really embarrassed too. I was really ashamed. Actually,
we haven't talked about it,
anything.
but this was something to where like the parents talked to you, right?
Yeah. And
we gotta get to that.
I was completely mortified and totally, just it was horrible, and
so what happened there is just because you were chatting online with her. I know
Chatting
we'd seen
online
them
with
in
her,
person.
But I remember also there was at least one instance where, because I was so in love with her still, where like you'd called in sick to work or something and then went over and visited them for a
No,
day?
I didn't call in sick. I actually went after work. I just went and dropped in on them.
Yeah.
And then I ended up there all day, and like we went out and stuff, like we just hung out, and then I ended up, because I worked at night, and then I stayed up all day, and they just told me, you can't go to work tonight, just stay the night, just call work. They told me to call in sick to work, or just tell them that you're out of town.
Well, certainly 13-year-olds should be giving you career advice.
No. This is her mom. This is her mother telling me to do that. Yeah, and she was 14. Damn it. No.
Yes, please. Go ahead.
Are we still talking? Okay. Put his mic down.
We're talking about Picky Teen, definitely. So what happened? I never knew because you're the only one who the parents talked to, and I don't think you were in any mood to be talking to us about what happened.
Yeah, not really.
So I hope you are
it's
now,
like I said.
sir.
It's when I've mentioned it before. I was very mentally ill. It's just about the only way I can really put it.
But you weren't aware of it at the time?
No.
It's only reflecting back.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But do you know what caused
the
that?
word
Like,
the word I would say is obsessive. I was obsessive. She became like I wanted the girl I wanted to protect. I wanted all to myself. It wasn't like I wanted to marry her or anything.
Okay, so
know what I mean?
So how did you show that? Just constantly talking?
Yeah, always talking and just hovering when she was around and stuff like that. And there was nothing that special about her.
But did you think that you needed to protect her, like from the Allers family who was there?
I have no idea. I wasn't like threatened by you guys. I knew you guys wouldn't ever let.
we didn't have a
anything-
chance.
Well, I knew you guys wouldn't do anything bad, or anything like that.
Right.
I wasn't trying to do anything like that.
Okay, so what happens though? Does her mom say something? Does her dad say? It was her stepdad,
It was her,
right?
Yeah. He never said anything to me. It was all. What was her name? Care Bear.
Care Bear.
That was
Care
her.
Bear.
Care Bear 63. Actually, I remember that. That's how I can remember how old she is too, because that was her birth year. It's a big mistake to do that.
So what happened? What does she say?
God, this has been so long ago. I don't even remember. I remember we had a very long AOL instant message conversation.
You and Care Bear?
Yeah, that I actually saved and let you read.
Really?
Yeah,
I don't
PJ.
remember
I'm
that.
pointing at PJ right now. I let you read that.
Well, surprise,
so-
Barry. Here it is. PJ?
Oh gosh,
That'd be awesome.
I'd have to leave right now. I don't think I. Can
I don't
take
even
that.
remember it.
But it was just kind of. She almost cut me off from the family.
Right. Except for you were still living with us, and that's
I
what
was
made
still
it
living
weird.
with you.
Because they were still friends with our parents.
They would
So we
still
did.
So
come
they'd
over.
still come over. But
And if
by
I
that
c-
time, you shut your... Well, you'd already been giving the talking to, apparently.
Yeah.
But what was weird and what makes me think you were in such a dark place is you were obviously making your presence known in really strange ways at the time.
Okay.
Do you remember any of this?
No.
Right, like they were there, but like you'd still be kind of in the common area, but like
Making your presence known without saying anything.
But see,
to anybody.
I think
Sure.
I always thought that it was the dad that said something because
Nope.
I always thought that during that visit,
Again, he and I never had any conversation.
or at least that it was the dad.
He wasn't
that
a
made
very
the
social
mom-
guy.
No.
At least that it was the dad that made the mom say something. And who is
Maybe.
he? Jer Bear or something?
Probably.
Like to me, it seemed like if we just like kind of ignore it, like then that's cool. You know, like sit around with us as the group. But it was more like, they don't want to see me, but I'm still here in the house.
Right.
That makes it 10 times more awkward.
Right. I remember disappearing to Bob's house a lot when they would come over.
I don't know. I remember you being there. Like, I'm trying to think of a good example here.
Yeah.
And I'm not coming through. Sorry.
I think all the
everybody.
time
That's
you
all right.
want some Jeopardy music.
Because these are just such happy friggin' memories you're digging up. for me.
We don't mean to drudge it back. It was just a very interesting time for us, especially.
I'm sure it was.
And
yeah.
and then you,
like my uncle's a friggin' psycho.
At the time, I wasn't thinking that, but it's
Yeah.
just reflecting back that I know you're a psycho.
Yeah.
No, but what I'm saying is, like, we've never really. I was just joking.
He
there.
was mentally ill.
But I am. There's no was about it. I just get help, you get help for it, and, and then you talk.
But what
through
I'm
stuff
saying is, like,
that.
this is the first time we've really had an open dialogue about this because then you got married and moved away for 10 years, you know?
Yeah.
So
I was just
this
telling-
is the time. This is the time.
I was just telling someone that, okay, my friend, we were talking about my friend Jake the other day. He just recently got a girlfriend, okay?
Uh-huh.
And sweet girl, I've known her for about,
Don't let him get her pregnant. He'll be forced to marry her.
I've known her for about 6 months. He's known her for like 2 years. But just one of these kind of phenomenons that happen is that, Jake and I would text a lot. Now he doesn't answer my texts. I'm like, gee, I wonder what could be distracting him. And so I was telling my friend Chelsea, I said that very thing, like, gee, I wonder what could be distracting him. And then I said, when Pat first met his first wife, or my best friend Patrick, he ignored me for like a week. And then it occurred to me, well, I met my wife and moved to New York, ignored my entire family for a decade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess none of us, I guess that kind of makes me the biggest jerk,
It doesn't. I mean, kind of. I mean, if things hadn't broken bad between you and your ex-wife, you'd still be there ignoring us.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, absolutely, I would be.
And it's not like I was making. I mean, I went out there a couple of times, as we already touched on, and I had a good time. It was just PJ that was miserable.
Yeah, PJ definitely got the worst of it, but at the same time, it was good in the sense that we knew how to handle future family visits, although only one ever happened again after that. It was Caleb and Lacey were the only ones to come out after you.
Yeah.
And you. I'm sorry, I keep forgetting you and Pat came out. That was so brief though. Like Caleb and Lacey were there for a week.
Yeah.
I've never been to New York for more than a weekend at a time.
A weekend, yeah.
So when you
I plan to change that someday.
when you eventually leave Tacoma and you're not living with us anymore, is that you came back to Yakima at that point?
Yeah, I went from your house to Bob's house.
Oh, in Tacoma. Okay.
And then
Bob,
Bob's
by
house.
the way, from
but still living in our house, you met your future ex.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
On the computer.
I met Amber through Nick because Nick and Amber were sharing.
is that how it happened?
Yeah, you and Amber were sharing jokes. You had your emails were like 5 lines, and they were usually just either little funny incidences or stories or whatever.
Yeah, it was
And-
pre-Twitter.
And she had sent you a picture, and this is a true story. This sounds very bogus, but it's absolutely true. I remember seeing her picture on your computer, having no idea who she was, having the 2 thoughts that I think she's the prettiest girl I've ever seen, and that I think I'm going to marry her. Honest to God.
Again, stealing my thunder. You see what he does?
Yeah.
She was
definitely. Was she? Did you like her?
No, I didn't. And that's
I
why
didn't
I was
think
happy
so.
to pass the troll patio.
Okay, yeah. I didn't
Could
think
you imagine
she was also
if you married her and then I went out to visit?
she was also mold eater. Do you remember that?
Oh, yes, I do.
And I know the story of why she changed to mold eater because her uncle was for some reason her uncle had absolutely nothing better to do. He was monitoring all the time she was spending online under Troll Patty and reporting it to her dad.
That's the kind of stuff that happened back then. Nobody cares anymore.
Yeah.
Everybody's on their internet while they're walking around.
So she switched to used Troll Patty only for like research and stuff like that, and used Mold Eater for the rest of her time on AOL for social stuff. But anyway, yeah. So I remember seeing
how did
her.
I come into contact.
It was
with her?
I have no idea. Probably a chat room or something.
Yeah, JDub chat room.
A JDub chat room, exactly. And
I remember
which, by the way, is greatly discouraged by the Watchtower by Ultrasex.
It is now. It wasn't. At the time,
it wasn't that.
so
nobody cared then.
Yeah. Or nobody knew what kind of drama could be produced from that. Yeah.
Right.
Now they know.
So I saw a couple of pictures, and then I did not initiate contact with her. She actually did with me. And she sent me an email. I remember you were right there when I opened my email, and it said Mold Eater. I was like, "Oh, look what I got."
Rubbing it in my face.
It might have been Troll Patty at the time. I think it was. I said, "Whoa, I got one from your friend." And then it was only like maybe a week later, that I moved out of your house, and we had just started talking. So I was like, "What do I do? What do I do? What do I do?" So I gave her my phone number,
and then you developed a phone relationship. And how long between
and
the
a really
time?
Huge phone bill that Bob practically sued me over.
Really?
Yeah.
Is that why you killed Bob?
Crap.
For those that want to hear the story about how Barry killed Bob, it's episode 21, all downhill from here.
Did we touch on Bob in that?
Yeah, the whole episode was about Bob, basically.
So you touched a little.
But no, we did not accuse you of killing.
Okay, that's good. That's very good.
When you got somebody like Bob in your life, you have to devote an episode to him once you have a podcast.
Yeah,
it's worth
least
talking
one.
about. At least one, sure. In fact, this is just for us, but because we already told the
We have to do
story.
a Campbell Scott episode. Next.
We told what is probably the scariest ghost story to come across on this podcast in a year, which is you finding Bob on his couch. We told that whole story.
Oh yeah.
But see, we didn't have your version of it. We were just basing it on memory.
Oh, so you want to hear it? Or?
Yeah, let's do a quick retelling of it.
All right.
Just in case.
I can do it very quickly.
It's pretty intense. Okay, so
I've had 2.5
but-
Bud Lights, so I don't know how quick I can be here.
But episode 21 for some real background on him. But let's tell the story real quick.
All right, I was on the phone with Amber in my room. I had my own
Living with Bob, right?
Living with Bob. He had this huge house. It was like an 8-bedroom house or something like that. So he was renting out to boarders, and I was one of the boarders. And I was on the phone with Amber, and I just hear him calling me. And it sounded distant. I just couldn't tell where it was coming from. I just, Barry. So I go out of my room. I'm on a cordless phone, and I can hear, he's calling me from the living room. I go in the living room, and there's nobody there. But I still hear him calling me from the living room. I'm like, where are you? He
It's
goes,
like, where's that cell phone ringing from?
Yeah, and he goes, I'm in the couch. And
Turns out under the couch.
It was a big sectional with a pull-out bed. And so the weird part about it is he was stuffed in the bed, in the fold-out bed, inside of it, like completely. And the weird part to me was that it was completely closed and the cushions were on.
Uh-huh. That is really weird.
Yeah, which means somebody did it to him.
Yeah.
You know, you can't do that. You just can't pull that off yourself. And so I pull the cushions off. I pull it out, and it wouldn't be bad enough. It was it was bad enough that he was stuffed in there, but he looked like Tammy Faye Baker. He had a full face of makeup on.
By Tammy Faye Baker, you mean his mom.
Pretty much.
Basically.
He had
Because
basically,
that's the way his mom applied.
When I hear that
Yeah.
story, I imagine his mom, who had the most exaggerated hair, the most exaggerated makeup.
Yeah, but
She
he
was-
was wearing lipstick, eyeshadow, blush. The works. It was insane. And I was like almost crying, right? I was
I'm
so
almost
scared.
crying now.
I was so scared, and he refused to tell me what had happened. And I thought maybe he'd been playing. His little niece and nephew were visiting at the time, but they were just like toddlers, so they couldn't have done it to him, and they couldn't have done that good of a job putting makeup on him,
Even if he put on his own makeup, they couldn't have closed him into the couch.
Right. So I thought maybe he was playing with his kids and something had happened, but they were nowhere to be found. And
that is the creepiest story, dude.
And so
I don't know what it is. Don't tell me that story at night because I'll kook out. Seriously, there's something about it.
But I went back to my room and I told Amber all about it because I was still on the phone with her the whole.
That was probably pissing Bob off.
Kind of, because I told her about it. So, like, what's funny, and this kind of established our whole future relationship. I'm there. I'm practically in tears, like crying. She starts laughing hysterically.
Oh.
She just thought it was the funniest thing. And so then she got me to laugh. I think she was more just trying to calm me down. But at the same time, she found the strangest things funny. And then like so,
and
like
moved out that night.
So
right?
like 10 minutes later, Bob comes walking by my room saying, "You better not be telling Amber about all this." I'm like,
really?
Yeah.
By this time, he's got the wig and the makeup off.
There was no wig. There was no wig. No.
Now,
That
how much later after that had he died? Were you still living with him?
No. I moved out. After that incident. I moved out like maybe a week later.
To where?
Because
to
demons.
To Yakima.
And he died about. I moved to Yakima. I moved back to Yakima in October, and he died in April.
Oh, okay.
April or May. He died not long after another mutual friend, Chris Kaner.
Oh, sure.
He died in a bad car
Under very
accident.
different circumstances.
And Bob died about 2 weeks after that. 2 or 3 weeks after that.
Man.
In May. I remember it was right before, because remember how weird we thought it was that Gene Siskel died right before The Phantom Menace came out?
Yes, I did.
And Bob died before The Phantom Menace came out, too. He would have loved that.
I remember thinking how weird it is Gene Siskel's not going to see The Phantom
Menace. The new Star Wars, yeah.
Because he died knowing that it was coming out.
Yeah.
And we're talking about it like it's some great piece of work, which, Barry, based on your Facebook, I know you think
I
it is,
love
but-
The Phantom Menace. Right. I absolutely love all 6 Star Wars movies equally. I am an equal Star Wars fanatic.
That's a ridiculous statement.
I view it as one big movie as opposed to 6 individual.
I have a fun game. Let's see if this works. We played this game with Tracy. If we name off all your siblings, you give 2 3-word description of them.
Okay.
How's that sound? We'll start up.
I'll try. I'm really, as a guy who, I'm a wannabe writer / novelist / songwriter / columnist, whatever /
always
guitar
have been.
player.
And I
but I'm
admire
really bad at games like this. I don't know why.
Just a couple words about
Okay.
And keep in mind, we'll edit out all the pauses, so take as long as you want.
Okay.
my dad.
Your dad, Scott.
My one word is yeah.
That's one word.
We tricked him into leaving a voicemail on the show, so that
I know. I asked you about that actually because
Oh, that's right.
he's like counting like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Like, what is he doing?
hey, he got hit in the face with a ski. Okay.
We made
help
all
it.
these jokes in part 1 of this episode.
This is what happens when we pick up on an episode 2 days later.
Couple word descriptions, Scott man.
For some reason, Big always. It's like you remember him as being.
But you haven't
big
seen him in
and
how long?
10
I don't
plus
even think you
years.
mean
He's a
fat.
very
You just
slight
mean,
man
like,
now.
Just big,
personality-wise.
yeah, like big, like kind of over the top, I suppose.
Yeah.
It's like when my friend, former friend, again, another one I haven't seen in over 10 years. My friend Casey met him.
Mertel.
He's Casey Mertel. He
We'll
goes
cut out his last name.
He goes.
I was like just confirming for
Please make a
myself.
point to interrupt with it with a bleep.
Casey. It was either Casey or his brother. I don't. But I'm pretty sure it was Casey. Said, I thought he was joking when he heard his voice, when he heard him talking.
And my best friend in 8th grade thought he was deaf the first time he met him.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, he kind of gives that vibe because he's got the lisp and just the loud voice and just
And
like
the graveliness. It's
It doesn't
a
like he
combination
doesn't
of
have
things.
like he can't hear his own voice. Absolutely.
Okay, so my dad's got a weird
like
voice.
big and just kind of abrasive. I
Okay.
think,
Which he's
are
not
a
anymore,
couple
though.
of-
That's the funny thing.
Yeah,
like he's
but
changed
my memories
so
of-
much.
but the thing is, like,
and my early memories
as a
of him,
little
too.
kid, especially as you guys can attest to, he's
Well, you're-
big and abrasive. 'Cause
right?
He's
You're
my,
the youngest. He's the oldest.
He's my oldest
Out of
brother.
7.
Yeah, he's 17 years older than I am.
So
So,
he
yeah,
was pretty
that's
much
how-
out of the house when you were born, right?
I remember periods of time after his very first divorce from Bonnie of him like busting into the daycare playroom and telling us all to shut up, And
Yeah.
really? Yeah, oh yeah.
Wow.
Just take my shit out on everybody else.
Let's get a memory
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that for every sibling we talk about. This is exciting.
Who's next on the line? Russ.
Russ,
Russ,
who you currently live with, so be careful.
Yeah. Oh, this could jeopardize my confident, He has a lot of confidence, but I think a lot of it's misplaced.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Misplaced is the exact word I was thinking when you said confident.
Yeah. Let's see. Another word. So misplaced confidence. I think just overall, a good guy describes him. He's an overall good guy. In fact, I was going to mention this in part 1 of recording here that out of the entire family, Amber liked me and Russ.
That hurts my feelings quite a bit. But
I'm sorry to say she
Why
did.
is Russ so lucky that someone who hates everybody likes
Yeah, and I've told him that.
is it because of his religious ties? Because
No.
I got the impression that you guys weren't all that active.
No, it had nothing to do with that. It was just in personality.
Okay.
It was just in personality, the way he is. And she knew he was a bit naive when it came to his own kids and everything. And I think that was part of the charm for her, because she didn't like Amy and April. She didn't like Sherry. She didn't like you guys. She never met your dad or your mom. But she didn't really like Lori. Didn't like Dave at all.
Isn't that telling you
She
something?
was okay with the England kids. She was okay with them. She enjoyed having them around when they visited. But in general, she
she not have a good time when I went and
She liked
visited?
Russ and me, and that was it. Huh?
Oh, she didn't like me the second time, but the first time I went out, it was
The
a
first
pleasant
time it was
experience.
fine. Yeah. And I think she liked you early on, especially otherwise she wouldn't have talked to you.
Right.
Through
And you would
AOL.
never been married.
And we would have never met probably. Yeah. And boy, my life would be different now, wouldn't it? Holy cow!
I apologize.
And I'm not saying that like I'm full of regret or anything. Like I regret marrying her. I just regret the things that happened within the marriage.
Right.
There's a lot I could have done to save the marriage. I can go off on that if you want an episode.
Sure, but we're gonna run through
But yeah,
some
we got to
siblings
run
first.
through the list again here.
Who's next?
I don't know, let's go
chronologically?
Tracy.
Tracy is next.
Tracy.
Tracy,
Listener of the show.
repeat guest of the show.
Yeah, repeat guest of the show. Words to describe him.
He's got
You've
some
heard
words
his
to
words
describe
to
you, buddy.
describe
Yeah, self-confident, definitely. And hermit always comes to mind.
Hermit.
Uh-huh.
I'm sure that's a sense of pride. I don't think he has any qualms admitting that.
Oh no, he doesn't. He doesn't,
yeah,
which is fine.
And I guess-
just loner, like hermit/loner.
This isn't a
And-
video podcast, but Barry's holding up a sign that says arrogant also. That's not going to come across on the audio version.
He was the first person ever I remember. And just so you know, I don't like to curse and swear, but I have had 3 beers. He was the first person ever to call me a son of a bitch, which I thought was really funny because we're both from the same mother. So I don't know.
It means something else entirely.
Was there a time when you and him were ever close growing up or anything like that?
We were never seriously close. Shortly after your grandpa died, he kind of tried, or maybe it was before, even before. He used to take me to movies a lot, not
Really?
a lot, but a couple of times. He took me. This will let you know how long ago this was.
How much older than you is he?
10 years.
And
10
how
years,
old
yeah.
were you when your dad died?
14.
Okay.
The last movie he took me to see was Little Shop of Horrors.
Really?
Yeah, the musical.
Don't I remember some story you were telling about just having come back from Back to the Future when you found out that Grandpa got hospitalized?
Crocodile Dundee.
Oh,
Yeah.
even better. By
Yeah.
better, I mean worse. But
It was 86 because Back to the Future was 85.
Oh, right,
Yeah,
right.
your grandpa had dropped me off at the Tacoma Mall Twin to see Crocodile Dundee, and your Aunt Lori picked me up. And she goes, Dad's in the hospital. I was like, oh,
wow.
okay.
Yeah. You could have been there for that rather than watching Paul Hogan mug it up for an hour and a half.
Yeah. Surprisingly, never tainted that movie for me. I still love that movie to this day.
Oh, man.
I haven't.
I thought you were going to go the other way with it.
maybe 7.
Yeah, me neither. I haven't either.
Who's next? Lori.
Terry. Terry's next.
Dumber Nancy Grace.
That was Tracy's
Tracy.
answer.
Dramatic.
Yeah.
Sure.
To me, that would also describe Lori too. Dramatic.
But what
We don't
about,
have to say bald, but we're all thinking it.
what about
That's
Terry's?
just not right.
Terry's daughter, though, also very dramatic.
Tiffany's very dramatic. Tiffany's very foul-mouthed too, which I don't know where that comes from.
But still a supposed witness.
Well,
right?
that's the thing. She's a bit of a, to quote Green Day, a bit of a walking contradiction.
And I felt like that's how I was at the end. Like, before I'd officially, just
Yeah.
disassociated
Yeah.
myself. Which I still...
In fact, when I
unofficially.
first got onto Facebook and became Facebook friends with her, I just assumed she wasn't a witness anymore.
Right. It's hard to tell, even with, like, Ashley, who's apparently on the fence.
Right. Just a little
She was
inactive.
in episode 50, our cousin Ashley, and that was.
Well,
I hope she doesn't mind
yeah.
my saying so, but that was the one thing she didn't want to talk about was religion. So,
Oh, really?
so that was what makes me think she's really wavering right now.
Just
Yeah.
because she's not sure if Amy and April, our other cousins, Russ's kids, closet listen or not,
Yeah.
Okay.
which is a
okay.
possibility.
I suppose, but at the same time, you don't make up your own mind. You know
What do
what
you
I
mean?
mean? Just with Ashley, she should just talk about what she wants to talk about and not worry about who's
Yeah.
listening.
Right. But that's hard. I mean, if you were to tell me that when I was her age and still in the religion,
True. True.
it's a whole other thing now. Like, hey, I'm not in the truth anymore. Let me stick this mic in your face. Say everything you want to.
Right.
It's a totally different situation. I understand
Yeah.
where she's at, but I just almost feel bad for her.
And Terry also, I would describe as kind of confusing. I've never understood my oldest sister, completely. It's kind of scary, kind of confusing, kind of. I don't know.
So that's the way Grandma had kids: three boys,
3 boys,
then
3 girls, and Oliver here.
yeah.
I was the last Brady Bunch.
Sure.
The guy who tried to save the series
And failed.
and failed.
So Lori's next.
Lori's next.
Leave
Again,
out the
dramatic as another.
homophobic slurs.
No, I don't. Oh, and I've been wanting to talk about that too. Just like Grandma's
now we're on it, so-
Grandma's infamous letter, the rolling around in bed letter.
Yeah.
I agree with you guys 100%. That was a really stupid thing to do.
It was insane.
This was a letter Lori wrote. Grandma wrote to Lori
Oh, you rolling around in bed with that woman. I remember Grandma telling me about this. I was
About
like, Mom, you're
the idea
stupid for
of
doing
defending
Lori-
her side of it.
Can she picture Lori rolling around in bed with a man and not be
Yeah,
disturbed by
exactly.
that? You know what I mean?
Exactly. Although,
Like, does
you know,
Grandma need to picture Dave's big cock in order to make her vision of her daughter happy?
I can't imagine his
Probably
was
wasn't
big.
that
I'm
big.
sorry.
He's a pretty short guy.
That mustache is saying
Harry,
something.
yes. But as a Jehovah's Witness, you don't care anything about her sexual orientation.
Or you're
It
just
has
not
to
willing to
do-
talk about it.
Well, I how do I put this? Grandma, her view on the matter is skewed as far as a spiritual viewpoint of it.
Because it's her daughter.
And it's something, well, no, it's something that Russ and I have talked about, and that we've also talked to Grandma about it. She shouldn't be mad because she's a lesbian, you know. She should be taking the view that she has left Jehovah. That's why she should be upset with her, not what she's doing per se, because it would be just as bad, you know, as far as taking the spiritual view goes, the Christian view, that if she had moved in with another guy and didn't marry him. Like I told her, I asked my mom, I said, how much worse, you know, is what Amber's doing now, for instance?
If Lori
is that any
was-
better because she's with a guy?
If Lori had just decided I don't want to be in the religion
With-
anymore and
Right.
I'm living with a guy,
Yeah. Would she still be as mad at her?
I doubt it.
I doubt it. I
honestly
doubt it too.
Yeah.
I doubt it too. And I asked her, I said, was what Amber, because that's what my ex-wife did. She moved in with a guy who's not a witness. You know,
We can flesh
he's
this out if you'd like to later.
he's an alcoholic, pot smoking, cigarette smoking. Oh, he's you guys. I'm sorry.
I was going to say, 10 years later, I got you back for that, you asshole.
You guys would like
if he
it.
wasn't attracted to Amber, I might invite
But that's
him on
the thing.
show.
That's the thing. This was everything. I'll give you an example. He's everything that I wasn't as far as what she was attracted to, because like this guy.
Then why did she hate me so much?
I don't know, but here's one of my favorite examples. This guy has like a goatee and a beard off and on. He always has some form of facial hair. I couldn't come near her if I hadn't shaved for a day.
Yeah.
And I barely have a beard to begin with.
Maybe that's
I have
it, though.
I have the thin Allers beard, you know.
Yeah.
And
It's
it
like your
takes
Chimo beard is
This
disgusting. You
is
shave
like
it.
4 days here, 4 or
That's-
5 days.
Oh,
and
man.
and it's pitiful.
Why are we all
Very.
afflicted by this? This is awful.
It's absolutely
Nobody
pitiful.
has video. Look at my sideburns.
Yeah.
My lack of sideburns.
Yeah.
This right here. This is about 11 days.
Oh my gosh!
Oh, no lie.
Yeah, PJ's worse off than us, to be
Yeah.
sure.
I grow nothing.
You're
Every
like-
three
The only
weeks,
reason he has a wife and kid is to compensate for his lack
Yeah,
of facial
you're
hair.
every
perpetually
3 weeks,
10
I
here.
have to shave off right under my nose and right at the bottom of my chin hairs that I can literally
But
count.
you know what? I got to tell you, I envy that because I hate shaving because it
what
tears
people
the
say.
crap out of my skin.
I hate
and-
shaving only because I feel so pathetic when I do. This is only so I don't look like I'm trying to molest your child is why I shave. If I could grow a beard, I'd grow a beard at this point in my life, you know?
Yeah. I could, but remember, like when I don't know if your Uncle Trace has a beard now, but the first time he tried to
does.
grow one out, it was really bad.
Oh, I never saw
He
his
was
initial
he was
attempts.
nicknamed Patches by some people in the family.
That sounds
All
like
right,
a
it was
hilarious
Terry.
dad joke.
So that's where we left off, right? With Tracy, who's left?
No, Terry. We left off with
My
Terry.
bad.
No, we did Lori,
actually we left off with Lori. So Rhonda.
I do have a quick question about
Yeah.
Russ, and this is just because this
About
is something that Nick and I have discussed. Russ comes to my house fairly often, sees
does
the
he?
baby, drops off some literature,
Oh, okay.
stuff like that. Would he see Nick? Because Nick and I do the exact same things as each other, but Nick also was a baptized Jehovah's Witness who turned his back. I turned my back just as hard as Nick did.
Oh, sure.
But
I haven't
is
seen
that an
Russ
issue?
since everything went down.
I don't
so-
think he would avoid you.
You don't think so?
I don't
would he
I don't
avoid
know.
it?
It's
Lori?
not that I have like this great desire to see Russ. I just wonder,
Right.
you know.
Just
Well,
out
the
of
thing is-
curiosity, if he happened to come by one day when Nick was here, would he just
ignore
be
me?
like, "Oh, you know,
I don't think he'd ignore you. The thing with Lori, the reason why he ignores Lori now is because he did reach out to her and he did keep offering her help. You know, help before
she doesn't want
the thing.
that.
Well, no,
She doesn't consider
I'm
that
saying,
help at that point.
I'm saying even before the marriage went south, he was offering help that
Oh, I see.
she kept rejecting. Like you say, she doesn't want it.
right." She
And
wants
so-
to be with a woman.
Right. And so, he's offering, it was his duty, his obligation as her brother and as her spiritual brother to offer spiritual help.
He has more obligations as her brother that he's not fulfilling now by ignoring her.
That's up to him. I'm
Not
not in
her
his head,
spiritual
but
to him
brother.
and Jehovah to decide.
Okay, not her spiritual brother, but her brother. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
yeah.
Now, granted, I know you guys live in a large family where, like, it's hard for me to imagine not talking to Nick very often. And so it's weird for me to think that, like, you haven't talked to your brother in, like, over 10 years.
Right.
In the case of
It's
my
bizarre,
dad. Like, that's
yeah.
weird to me.
it is weird. It's weird to me too. But,
But he
again,
also lives, he grew up with 6 other people. Dad was already out of the
yeah,
house.
but Russ lives a couple miles away from Lori. You know what I mean?
yeah,
True.
Well, kind of. Others, it is the absolute opposite side of town.
Right,
I mean,
yeah.
she lives out in Glebe. We live in Moxie. You know,
Right,
it is
right.
kind of, if you know
But Yakima's
the
right
geography,
there in the middle.
and Yakima's right in the middle. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what would motivate him to talk to her again, short of a family crisis. Mm-hmm. Sort of, grandma's funeral, say.
Yeah.
Or like Caleb or Lacey's funeral or something like that. Something like that happens. I don't know if at this point he would go to her funeral. I don't know. I really don't know.
Harsh.
I don't know. With me, I sometimes wish I was that decisive. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's always indecision is something that my indecision is something that killed my marriage too. It's just one of the contributing factors to that I was always very indecisive and very on the fence about things and stuff like that. But like when it came to religious matters, Amber and I were both that way, like very much. And it was bad. You know how, okay, for the sake of your listeners again, and I'm sure they all know, Jehovah's Witnesses do door-to-door preaching.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they don't have to listen to our show to know that.
Yeah, they don't have to listen to anybody's podcast to know that. You know how many times we did it together as a married couple? 0.
0.
In 7.5 years of
Not
marriage.
because you weren't going to door, just not with each other.
We never did it together, and I don't think...
And that was her decision, right?
Well, I don't think during the whole time we were married, I did do, door-to-door preaching, but never with her. And I don't think she ever did any. She did before we were married, and she did quite a lot before we were married.
And that's kind of the whole point of Jehovah's Witness.
It is.
That's what you're supposed
It is
to
an.
be doing.
It is an active. It's not a passive religion at all. It's
No.
not like you're saying, "Oh, I'm a Catholic,"
You
which
need to
means
be
I watch
logging
football
your
every Sunday.
hours.
You know,
You need to log your hours.
There's a quota, basically. Is what
Right.
it
it's
comes
not
down
a
to.
quota, but
Sure, if you're a pioneer,
I'm
you
speaking
got
in worldly terms,
it
it's a
depends on
quota.
it depends on what you're doing. Yeah, because you will like if it's called pioneering, and which is a word I've never really understood, but it's in the sense that you're taking the lead more or less in the preaching. And within the organization, it's mostly women that do the pioneering.
I've noticed that, yeah.
And
Because they're not allowed to have jobs. Maybe
oh yeah, whatever.
that may be a stretch.
Have you forgotten everything? Holy
just
cow.
about. One more beer and I forgot.
There's a lot of pot smoke in there.
You've been trying to forget. That's what you've been trying to do.
When Nick's only got half a beer left, he cuts it with bong water.
Gross. That even grossed him out. Wow.
It did.
Oh my gosh. And just for the record, I've never done that stupid stuff.
It is stupid. God, I hate it. But it makes me so funny. Sorry, guys. I have really thrown things off the tracks. Let's go back.
Anyway, where was I?
Rhonda.
Okay, we'll just go back to Rhonda. Hilarious.
Who is
Hilarious.
hilarious, really.
Oh, Rhonda's one of the funniest people I've ever met, and also brilliant.
She's one of the as far as my dad's side of the family goes, she was even Terry I felt I was closer to as a kid because she lived with us at one point. Rhonda I felt never got me or liked me.
Really,
Rhonda
Whereas
was someone,
Ashley, her daughter who was on episode
okay,
50, loves me.
If I may, Rhonda was someone. Terry was someone much like how Terry's daughter is Tiffany now, which is just like, I'm going to fulfill this role.
Yeah.
I'm an aunt and I'm a mother and
Sure.
blah blah blah, and everything I say is just being. Is so insightful, and I want the whole room to hear me every time. And you are my nephew, and I love you, and stuff like that. Rhonda's doing her own fucking thing.
Right, I respect
You know
that
what I
now,
mean?
but at the
She's
time, I didn't know what
she's
it
like,
meant.
you know what? You're 8 and you're annoying me. Like, I would
makes
much
sense.
rather go out and get pregnant again. You know what I mean? Like, come
you're
on.
right. Actually, that like literally was her attitude.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just gonna go and get pregnant now.
You can't blame Rhonda for not being like fake close to like the world's most annoying 9-year-old kids, Nick and I, with the world's worst parents who would want to be around.
Yeah,
you know what
no,
I mean?
it makes sense.
And again, not to drudge up a lot of badness, but she couldn't pull Cecily out of the daycare fast enough.
Her other
Oh
daughter.
yeah,
yeah.
Cecily
Oh,
being
God.
and Ashley talked about being in our daycare,
Yeah.
or at least coming to
mom's
be
daycare.
babysat
Yeah,
during
yeah,
the
yeah,
day.
yeah.
But yeah, Cecily was like officially a kid of the daycare for like a day.
Yeah.
Like, it was just awful.
And then
It was
Rhonda
awful.
Rhonda pulled them out, and then your dad didn't talk to her for a couple
Oh,
of
God,
years at
give me
least.
a break.
because I'm sure because my mom was
Yeah.
just feeding all that hate speech into his
Yeah.
head, just burning bridges left and right. Yet my mom can't friend request Ashley and Cecily on Facebook fast enough.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
She's still holding on so much to Dad's family. It's weird.
Yeah.
It's actually really
Yeah.
weird.
She's never friend requested me.
She knows better.
I think if she saw your name up there, she probably would.
Oh, it has to have come up by now because you've got those.
I would think so,
suggestions
She
too.
in the
logs
corner.
in maybe once a year. I'm
Oh,
gonna
does
say.
she? Okay.
On Facebook?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's not big into Facebook.
Yeah.
She tried Twitter
MySpace.
briefly.
If you had MySpace, you'd be on.
Oh, I do have a MySpace music, but my name's not really. prominent.
Oh, we're going to talk about that too.
Yeah. Well, we haven't
We're gonna
finished
give you a
with
plug
Rhonda
at the
yet.
end.
We haven't finished with Rhonda. Rhonda's the easiest
Hey,
one
you
for
don't
me
steer the fucking
because
boat.
yeah,
You don't steer the
I'm
SS
taking
Plan
I am
Brotherhood.
taking the helm right
All
now.
right, I got the hat. I'm captain. Nick,
When Unclehood is
captain.
much less.
All right. Well, let me eat at the captain's table here for a little while because that was good. That was very nautical. Put me on the Love Boat. God, edit that out, please.
Again, you
Again.
don't make these decisions.
Who the fuck do you think you are?
I am your guest.
You have more to say on Rhonda?
I do have more to say on Rhonda. Rhonda ruined me.
Why don't we get off Rhonda? I just got off Rhonda.
That barely made sense.
Oh my gosh. Rhonda, your Aunt Rhonda ruined me for most of my life on blondes in general. Of all my life, I grew up attracted mainly to brunettes and redheads because she ruined me on blondes.
My
because
Aunt Rhonda's
she acted
nakedness around the house confused me
Yeah.
about nakedness.
That's
you know what
that's
I mean?
that's part of it, but also like she's the one closest to me in age. We're only about 4 years apart. And Patrick, my best friend, we became best friends when we were
Because he was in love with Rhonda.
No. We were
That's
we
what
were
I heard later.
We were 16 and 15 respectively. He was a year younger than I am, and but no, we became friends at the Kingdom Hall long before he ever met Rhonda.
Okay.
First time I brought him over, then he was really glad he was friends with me, and he won't. I don't think he'd have any problem admitting to.
Oh
that.
no, he's
What a great guest.
and
he
and
would
it
be.
was and it was
If only he wasn't so mad at me all the
yeah,
time.
and he was
That was my own fault though.
and this was summertime, so Rhonda was basically 90% naked all the time in
Yeah.
the summer. She wore the skimpiest bikinis.
Yeah,
and
and would tan on the roof of the house.
tan on the roof of the house.
While
And
daycare
this
kids are sitting there
but this
lusting over her.
This is why she ruined me on blondes, because Rhonda is brilliant. Rhonda's incredibly smart, incredibly intelligent, but she always acted like a dumb blonde, and she was that way in school, especially like in junior high. All of us, all those kids never went to public high school. So ninth grade, junior high was as high as we ever got in school.
Same here.
But
Carried
so
over.
she was she acted like she was brilliant through grammar school or whatever you call elementary school, junior high, she started acting like a twit, like when she was 13, acting dumb and saying like, "Oh, I seen him go into the store," stupid, bad, poor grammar and everything like that. She started dumbing everything down, and I lost, in retrospect, I lost respect. I didn't notice it at the time, of course,
Right.
but in retrospect, it made me lose respect for her and stuff like that. She is a brilliant woman, and again, one of the funniest women I've ever seen.
See, I still don't consider
I've ever known.
I barely know her.
Yeah.
Like, I have a good relationship with Ashley, her daughter, my cousin, but
Ashley's got a lot of her personality from her.
Right, that's true. And also, Rhonda just never made the effort, and I didn't either. So,
Okay.
she's my Facebook friend, though.
Rhonda's very much an allers in that respect. She's just lazy and she just kind of into herself.
She
And
does
like
thumbs up a Facebook update of mine from time to time.
You know
which
what
is
I
flattering.
mean? Like, why do I need to bother myself by like making connections with people who I haven't seen in 10 years,
Right.
just because we used to have the same last name? You know what I mean? I don't buy into all that shit. If you get along with someone, we went to go visit them, Rhonda and Nick, and I think it was after her most recent daughter was born. Even
Brooklyn.
after I was married, yeah. And I just remember that
I do it all the time.
when I was going over there, I had just started smoking weed, and we might have to cut this out. We might have to ask Ashley if this is okay to keep in.
But her
I
stepdad
heard
is a big
I
pothead,
heard
yeah.
that Rhonda's husband smoked weed.
Oh, yeah.
So
he's in
all
construction.
so all
put it
I
that
There
was
way.
you go. There you go.
all I was doing the whole time I was there was like dropping hints about like how I like to smoke weed, hoping he'd invite me into the garage.
Did
and
you not
smoke
have
me
weed to
out,
offer him?
No, not at all.
You were
But,
hoping
like,
for the
You're
other way
hoping
around.
he had a stat.
Yeah, he gave me like 3 beers, and I was sitting there, and like I'm getting a little buzz, and I'm talking to him. I'm just like, hey, you like that? You like that smoke? Yeah, I'm not asking him, do you like it? But I just kept bringing it up, and he's like the cool guy who's like, I'm not going to sit here and just talk about, oh yeah, I smoke weed. Let me smoke it with you, weird step nephew who I've never met before. So then like
No, you'd be a regular nephew.
and I never thought about it again until like 3 years later. I woke up in the middle of the night remembering that day, wanting to commit suicide over how embarrassing that
About what a
was.
dork you were
He'll
being,
wake up in a
okay.
panic sweat about something that doesn't matter to anybody
that
ever.
he's
irrelevant,
never
yeah.
thought about since then. I'm
Probably
sure.
not.
You've got some issues.
You find out he and Rhonda like laugh about it every other week. Like, remember
If
when
he,
you got
if he
your dorky
wants to smoke
nephew?
a bowl and talk about it, I'm more than happy with that.
Man, I'd take Nick Scansey as a guest. We'll cut that too.
That would be interesting. When we've had one conversation,
Only because we've never talked to him.
Nick and I have had one conversation.
Talked to him a little
Nick
bit about
S. We'll call him
weed.
Nick S.
Okay.
Nick S. and I have had one conversation, and it was the first time Amber and I came to visit, and Brooklyn was not even a year old. She was like 8 months old, and already had like the biggest personality of the entire family. And we had one conversation because he used to live in New York too. He lived in New York City. He used to be a male model.
Oh
So
yeah,
he's had
he was
an
in
interest. he's-
Playgirl, I believe.
Undoubtedly.
Was he really?
Yeah, I remember.
No kidding.
One
I
vague
think
memory I have of
I think
Rhonda.
you're thinking of Burt Reynolds.
Or Steven,
You're right.
Or Steven Tyler.
Wait, but it was our step uncle or whatever he is. That
No,
started
he's your
smoking
uncle.
the Bandit too, right?
yes.
Okay.
He's your
Yeah,
regular
he's our
uncle.
He's our
Regular uncle, yeah.
He married our aunt.
I would
Yeah.
never call him my uncle.
Yeah.
Only because
Nick.
we share the same name. It gets
Right. It
confusing.
sounds weird. Yeah. Hey, uncle, my name. God,
I
lame.
yeah. Okay, so he was in Playgirl, and he used to play football.
No, I remember Rhonda bragging like. When
Oh, that's right. Yeah, he
in the
played for
beginning of their
Huskies.
relationship, he was a male model, even though he had a big schnoz like me.
Yeah, kind of. He's got that Czechoslovakian thing.
But I think he was just in
Eastern European
Playgirl,
thing.
basically topless in Playgirl. I don't.
Oh,
think
was
he
that it?
I don't think he showed a schlong.
No,
anytime.
no downstairs action going on there.
Yeah, no cock shot. Hey, Sophie, do you like it when I say cock shot in front of you?
Girl, you'll be a woman soon.
So, what would you say offends you more about me? My smoking pot or my smoking cigarettes?
None of it offends me.
Okay,
At
I've
first-
gotten alternate impressions,
At first I was disappointed.
as my dad was. And
It
as,
disappoints me when anybody, especially this late in the game, takes up cigarette smoking. Because I just don't get the appeal. I just don't understand
You won't
it.
believe me, but I understand where you're coming from.
No, I believe you.
Because, growing up as Jehovah's Witness, but even after that, like it...
Yeah, but even before I was a witness, and granted I grew up around it, but I didn't make my own decision about it till I was a teenager. And before then I was offered cigarettes and stuff, and it just like It's like, no, that's disgusting.
That's how I felt for a long time, and I don't even
And I
have a
still
good
do,
explanation
yeah.
for it. Like, I can remember, though, our dad, for one, like, first of all, he's sleazing out in front of us and talking about how hot this chick is while he's married to our mom. But then he's like, if she were to pull out a cigarette and start smoking, he'd be like, that is such a turnoff.
Yeah.
Like, who's never taken a puff? My dad, but
Or me.
right. But that carried over for me for a long time. Like, I could never date a girl that smokes. And now I realize, being in the dating game again, a girl doesn't want to date me necessarily when she sees me pull out a
Because you're
cigarette.
smoking. Yeah, exactly. Tables have turned.
But I blame PJ for my
Oh, really?
addiction. Yeah, I honestly do.
Really, for cigarettes? I don't know. I remember once when we were living in the same house after I was married, coming home and taking a pack of cigarettes out of my pocket, and you, like, not verbally, but kind of made a scene about, like, picking it up and, like, what is this? Like, that's so ridiculous. I wasn't around you when you started smoking cigarettes.
Yes, you were.
No, you revealed it to me.
No.
You revealed it to me once as, like, a big thing, and same with pot smoking, which was you just told me, oh, hey, I smoke pot now.
Okay, you're wrong on the first count. Pot did happen that way. But cigarettes, as far as you're being offended, I remember, or am I being offended? I was driving, we were going through a drive-through somewhere, like a McDonald's or a Taco Bell or something. And then, first of all, this is still rude. Whether I knew you were a smoker or not, you just started smoking in my car.
Yeah, I used to do that. I didn't know smoking cigarette etiquette when I started
Oh,
smoking.
okay.
I would smoke in lots of people's cars without even asking. Got
Yeah.
talked to about it.
Oh, I'm not saying that was it. I was still a witness at the time, and I was like, what the fuck, man? I didn't say that, of course, as a Jehovah's Witness.
That was ironic.
But no, I was like, what is this? And then you were like, nothing. You just shut down. You weren't willing to talk about it, but you were still smoking in my car.
Yeah.
I
So
smoked
it's-
and was
cigarettes
it-
in front of
PJ,
you
was
when
it-
we were 15.
But was it
True.
like in that instance, was it like autopilot? Like, did you even realize you were doing it? Or
Yes, of course you did.
Oh,
it was
yeah.
me, your
I'm
avid
sure
witness
it was
of a
like,
brother.
I'm going to smoke a cigarette in front of Nick now. Just like how Nick said, oh, I want to, I couldn't wait to smoke a cigarette in front of my dad. It's just
That's
like
true.
a stupid statement. you
Okay,
know?
okay.
Right, and with that, I still feel like it makes
Yeah.
sense. It's valid. But so that's what that was. As far as me blaming you for my cigarette smoking, it wasn't your fault. It was only your fault because you happened to be hanging out at my apartment in Yakima and had cigarettes, and I just took it up that night, like 8 in a
Oh,
row.
really?
And
I don't
PJ,
remember
you've
that.
tried to quit before.
Oh,
I don't know
yeah.
about you, Nick, but I know
I've
you've
tried to quit. Yeah.
Yeah, big time. I've made it over a month before.
Yeah.
And then you just fall back into it. That's
Right.
what my wife doesn't understand. Like, why would that? Because that's not what it's about.
She's
Like,
probably never smoked either. Huh?
no, never. And I never smoked until after we got married, and she probably wouldn't have married
She's
me.
probably smoked weed though.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I remember hearing her say
should put
that.
that-
She's tried it.
Are we going to put that out there on wax,
Oh,
guys?
okay.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Why not?
All right.
Smoking
She
weed.
can be mad at me the rest of her life for saying that.
Smoking weed is a much different animal than smoking.
Oh, yeah,
cigarettes.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, you know,
And that's,
like
I
with
guess
me-
that's where my question came
Okay,
from.
here's me. If you want, I'll get all political and high and mighty on my
Sure.
my views on marijuana.
And then if you could back it up with scripture, I'd appreciate it.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't need to be.
Okay.
Other than the fact that the Bible says
I
God
only
created
follow-
all things.
I
you
follow
know?
God's law, not Caesar's.
Exactly. Well, my thought on marijuana is like they want to make marijuana medicinal, blah blah blah. I'm like, if I had a condition, say like a back condition, because they say that's where marijuana settles. It settles in your spine.
Sure.
So that's why they give it for people with spinal problems and back problems. I'd be like, I'm cool. I would be very cool with taking marijuana as medicine if you gave it to me in a pill, because I'm just not going to smoke.
Oh, they have.
I'm not
I
going to
see.
smoke
They have
anything.
pot
So it's the activity itself.
What about
It's
a brownie?
and it has nothing. It has I mean, other than the fact that I'd gained like 9,000 pounds.
But they have pot pills too.
Pot
They
pills
do.
are fine. The thing is, I
Would you
refuse.
eat a cookie?
I refuse to smoke. I don't want to put that crap in my lungs.
Okay.
But let's say you
It has
come
nothing to do with the religious view. I'm just not going to smoke.
You look hungry. Here's a brownie.
if you come over and I
Thanks.
have a pot pill, are you still not going to take it because it's illegal? Or would you take
No,
the
I'm
pot
saying-
pill
I'm
because
saying,
you don't have
like,
to
If
smoke
he had
it?
a spinal
you would
injury.
only take it, even the pot pill, you would only do that if you medically needed
if I medically needed it, yeah. Like I have.
What if it
leftover-
was legal recreationally?
No, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do stuff like that recreationally because
Well, you drank 3 beers. I'm not
Sure.
saying you're drunk by any means.
No.
You're already red in the
it's,
face.
again, it's Bud Light. Oh, I am red in the face. I'm more allergic to beer than anything else.
I know, yeah.
But at any rate,
But I'm saying that's legal recreation right there.
it is legal recreation. Yeah, yeah. And the Bible, if you want to take the religious view, the Bible does not condemn drinking. It
It
condemns
has to be in moderation.
It
though.
condemns drunkenness.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which I get.
Which
I
a
get
lot
that.
of witnesses are guilty of.
Oh yeah. It
But see,
happens.
that seems one of the things as far as Jehovah's Witnesses go that's easy enough to dodge around.
Right,
Like I've
they
seen
try.
drunks growing up.
Oh,
like,
sure.
But
Elders.
a lot of
Elders.
it because a lot of it drinking is very easy to keep private.
right, exactly.
You know what I mean?
But what's
So-
that saying though? Like as long as you can keep it private.
But whether or not the
so
other,
is marijuana. That's easily private.
whether or
Sure.
not
Oh,
people
sure.
in the congregation know you're doing it, and I can do it because I'm keeping it private. If you really believe in God and everything that Jehovah's Witnesses are teaching
Yeah,
you
shouldn't
then
be doing
you're
it.
not getting away with it. Like
Yeah.
why would
I got away with it for a little while.
but why are you still going to meetings?
Yeah,
knowing
it's-
that
that
no matter
is-
what these people don't know.
You know what? I'll give you an answer to
knows.
that. When I was doing things I shouldn't be doing, but still technically a witness, I felt guilt about it, and
Yeah.
not enough that I would go to an elder, but I still felt like this is something that I can get past, and then I'll,
Sure.
I'll deal personally
Kinda
with Jehovah on
right.
this. Like I went through this phase.
Yes.
I'm just praying a lot.
you're not
I'm
allowed
back
to-
into it.
I
now,
was-
man.
I
You're
was
not
gonna
allowed
ask
to
you
make
that if
that
you were.
decision though.
You're not, but my rationalization said I was. At the
Right,
time.
and I was going to ask you that. I'm like, did you did you pray often? Did you?
Sure, up
was
until
your-
the end, I did.
Yeah.
Like every day, just
Yeah.
because I was so guilt ridden.
Right.
Then I just got over the guilt.
Right.
Sometimes I would smoke pot and drink and be in my house with my roommates and want to call Russ at 3 a.m. to repent for everything.
Really?
And I think back,
He would've
and I'm
listened.
Like, and I think back and like that's unfair that like I had to feel that way as a 19-year-old experimenting with marijuana. Like, come on, that's not that bad. I'm not doing anything that wrong.
Right. I mean, there is the fact that it is
Illegal.
illegal. Yeah. Yeah. So in that respect, yeah, you were doing wrong, but but
But
no
as
more
far
than
as the
like
grand-
deliberately.
and I get that.
and you were like
the
deliberately
grand-
speeding too.
The grand scheme of things, like for 19-year-olds, it's common to be smoking weed. I'm not doing anything different than what a bunch of other 19-year-olds are doing.
Right.
I get your point.
Yeah,
But,
yeah.
it was a huge deal to me at the time. I didn't
Right.
do anything until I was well into my 20s,
I'm glad.
And
I'm grateful.
I understand that's confusing now. Like, why would you smoke now? You had all this time not to smoke and realize
Yeah.
what that was like. And how
I'm
it's better
grateful
you.
for myself that I got really sick a few years ago and was prescribed Percocet, which is an opiate.
Uh-huh.
A legal drug taken for pain, made me incredibly high. And I discovered
And probably
that,
the only high you've ever had.
yeah, and I discovered I hated it. I hated the feeling.
Well, you hated the first time, Barry.
No, I hated
No,
it
no.
every time because I'm a kidney stone sufferer. Have I told you how many I've had
No, let's hear it.
in the last 2.5
6.
years? 17.
Oh. And they're, like, shockingly painful, right?
Oh,
every time?
they call it a man's
version
version of birth.
Right.
And I always feel bad. Like your cousin Tiffany had 10 in a week.
That's probably a lie.
No, well, she was documenting it all on Facebook, so
Sounds like
I
a
believe her. The way
fabricated Facebook update.
the way sure it was about a 2-week period. She had 10 of them, and so it is a horrible pain. And Percocet, if I may promote it, it is a
Please do.
wonderful drug for killing pain, but it made me it gave me nightmares. It gave me almost night terrors. Like I would wake up kicking and like flailing and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's
And
not good.
I just couldn't function. Like the next day I couldn't remember things. I couldn't remember people's names.
The first time I got high without smoking weed was in a dentist's office because I was too afraid for the needle and I asked for the gas. And I remember literally staring up. They had a TV on the ceiling that you could look at, and it was like Will and Grace. And thinking, oh my God, this show is funny. And all I could think in my head the whole time was,
You're a queer.
because at this point I lived with worldly people,
Right.
while still kind of trying to be a Jehovah's Witness, but
Uh-huh.
I was roommates with them who smoked weed all the time. And I made the decision. I was like, if this is what being high is like,
Yeah.
then I'm going to smoke weed.
Oh,
And
wow.
I remember going
Make him
home.
a lolly.
So you
It's
can-
hilarious.
You can blame your dentist just like the Beatles.
I don't know what that
I
means.
remember.
Oh, okay.
I remember.
Well, Beatles fans will.
I remember going home and asking them. I was like, "Have you guys ever had the gas at the dentist's office? Yeah. Is that what smoking weed's like? Yeah. That's exactly what it's like. Sign me up.
Sweet.
Sign
Okay.
me up."
Right.
And that's back when it was fun and before I got all weird when I smoke weed. Now.
Yeah.
Okay.
He only does it occasionally now.
Right, he's like when you're around, basically.
Yeah. I'm a bad influence. I recognize that.
You always have been.
But also, I need
That
company.
is not true.
Yeah.
I've not always been.
I
a bad
need the
influence.
company of somebody else who's high while I'm high, and then I'm just fine.
Kind of the control hamster.
Like I don't like to be high, especially if like I have to hide it. Like if I go to grandma's house, which I can't do it unless I'm high.
Oh, really?
But like,
Same here.
be the only person in the room that isn't high, and then worst of all, you can't even talk about it. That's awful for me. But meanwhile, there's lots of people who smoke weed before work, and that's the only way they can survive work.
That's the way they get through the day.
That's just like the worst.
Well, like
situation
alcoholics,
for me.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I knew guys I worked with were alcoholics. We worked at, we cleaned grocery store floors. This is when I lived in Tacoma with you guys.
God, this isn't the dynamite factory.
No, this isn't the dynamite factory. Although
Yeah,
I have
seriously.
stories for that too. But these guys would like buy a bottle of Scope off the shelf and just
Yeah.
drink that all night.
Wow.
Yeah, because they
That's
were so seriously addicted to alcohol that they needed
Okay.
that just to get through the night.
I'm not going to deny my own alcoholism, but that's a little extreme.
Yeah,
I
it
wouldn't
is
drink
excessive.
Scope to get alcohol.
I worked with the guy. I had heard the expression chain smoker, but had never really seen it until I met this
I
guy.
have. A lady
he literally,
in Alaska.
he literally never didn't have a cigarette in his mouth, and it would be like two at once. Was the other one was dying, he'd have the other one already.
My
going.
friend-
That's insane even to me.
My friend's mom in Alaska, my friend David, who you might have met.
Yeah, I remember. Good bread.
Yep,
Yeah.
good bread. In
let it
Alaska,
down.
Not spelled like you think.
No,
his mom, from the time she woke up until the time she went to bed, was smoking cigarettes, always lighting the next one with the last one.
That's amazing.
You know, she'd use one flick of the lighter at the very beginning of the day to light that first cigarette, and from the rest, it was use that burning one to light the next one.
Yeah.
Never had to use her lighter again for the rest of the day.
saved money on
I did that
butane.
one night. I was a chain smoker one night, I guess. It was the night that a certain storytelling broke up with me.
And you were outside of Lori's house, right?
Yeah, well, I wandered away for a long time. And then what the thing was, like, she'd broken up with me, and then she wanted to meet me, and I was pretty sure that meant we were going to have sex that night, and I was really excited. And then I went there, and she was a total bitch. And then, but she gave me, like, 2 packs of cigarettes at the beginning of the night, because I think I was really broke at the time, too. And I had just started smoking at the time, so that was exciting for me. But I didn't have a lighter, and I was so pissed by the end of it because I didn't end up going back home with her. And I just got one light, and then I started that cigarette, and I walked around all night and continued to smoke,
You
just
smoked,
lighting
like,
off
2
of
packs
the last
in a
one.
night?
2 packs in a night.
Holy cow.
And,
You're getting
eventually,
super cancer.
yeah, and I remember it was our Aunt Lori's house I was staying at the time, just for that one night because I was visiting from Tacoma. And I came back. I'd driven there. This is when I still drove, and I
Not
couldn't
very
get in
well,
the
by the
house.
way.
Like all of a sudden, I'd wandered around till like 3 a.m, just pissed off and cursing to myself and chain smoking. And then I came back, and Caleb was supposed to let me in. He was living upstairs.
What a fucking flake that kid is.
Yeah.
He was
Well,
supposed
first of all,
to
the
let
door.
us in one night too.
Yeah. The door was supposed to be unlocked. It wasn't. So then I start throwing pebbles at Caleb's window for like 20 minutes, and there was nothing. And I
Throw
didn't
a
want to
rock
knock
on
because
his
I was
head.
so afraid of Dave.
Was he into like getting baked at the time then, or
Probably.
Okay,
I'm sure that's exactly what he was doing.
Okay.
But then I get into my car, and I sleep in my car until like 6 a.m, and then I go in there and bar jam with all the daycare kids, and I'm like, I'm high, and I smell like cigarette smoke. I guess that's the whole story. I thought there was more to it than
I'm
that.
sure you smelled badly of cigarettes.
Yes.
Yeah,
And I
after
was
2 packs
still
in a
worried at the
night.
time that Lori was judging, even though I smoked a cigarette or two with her since.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry, I can't remember the nickname you had for this person that you were
Storytelling.
storytelling.
You know who that is, right? We'll cut that part out.
Okay. I didn't. You had some other name for.
Now there's Pincushion, but
Pincushion, that's
another
what I
No,
was trying to
Pincushion's
think
a girlfriend I had in Seattle.
That's another person. Okay,
Yeah.
okay. I didn't know that. Storytelling. All right. I'll try to remember that. And then Neckfurters. I like that.
Neckfurters was never my girlfriend.
Yeah. I know. But that one just makes me laugh.
Still hoping, guys.
Just the image of that Neckfurters. It's like Cankles or whatever.
What do we got? Let's promote dog water.
Oh boy,
Say what you will about dog water.
they suck. Dog water is my quote unquote band. I say quote unquote band because it's just me.
Now
Right.
don't undersell it.
But is it
No,
like
I'm not underselling it.
You
Just
even
at
told
this-
me, like, I
at
wanna
this-
come on,
at
promote
this point.
dog
Yeah,
water.
at this point, it is just me.
by
what-
just you mean you do all the instruments?
I
and
do
then
all the
work-
instruments.
like
I
the Foo
won't-
Fighters' first album.
Yeah,
It was all
exact-
Dave Grohl.
It was all Dave Grohl, including the singing, which I don't do. I'm not a good singer. So I do have friends that sing. You know Sam.
Uh-huh.
I have another friend, Randy. He's a good singer. He lives in Tacoma.
In fairness, Nick doesn't really know Sam. When you would come to Tacoma to visit,
True,
Sam,
yeah, Sam. You
wouldn't-
didn't really get to know Sam, but you'd met him at least.
I could have known him.
I think
If
he
you
was
give
there
me
when
the
Nick,
chance.
And I
when
think
Nick
you've
was
heard
trying
him.
to sell you a book order, and you said, "Get away from
Get
me."
away from me, little brat. I'm really sorry, but at the same time, I don't remember that at all.
I don't remember
so-
it either.
Okay,
But it's making me angry.
Mr. Steel Trap memory over here.
I know.
Just filters out all the good stuff, leaves all the bad inside.
That's what makes PJ PJ. It's
Yeah.
very disconcerting. All right, so back to Dogwater.
all right,
That's
Dogwater.
a Simpsons reference, isn't
It
it?
is a Simpsons reference, yeah. It is from a Halloween episode, actually.
One that I would have seen?
Oh yeah,
Was
that's-
it from seasons 1 through 11?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's the talking Krusty doll, the evil talking Krusty doll.
That's old school Simpsons.
And it's towards the end when Krusty's wrestling with Homer and he shoves his face in Santa's little helper's water bowl. And Homer comes out of it and goes, "Ooh, dog water."
Oh, right.
And I was like, oh, that's a cool name. And of course, I'm not the only one to do that. Fallout Boy got their name from The Simpsons.
Right. I hear Matt Groening's not impressed by that.
And I'm not impressed by Fallout Boy whatsoever.
Well, that's what I mean. He's like,
Okay, yeah, they're like one
I
of
was
the
listening to a
most
commentary.
overrated band ever.
I was listening to a Simpsons commentary,
Bands.
and they mentioned Fallout Boy, and they're like, they basically said, Matt Groening basically said, yeah, I'm flattered. I just wish the band was better.
Oh, wow.
I'm
That's
sure it
really
wasn't
cool.
that controversial.
Because there's another band called My
The
Brilliant
views expressed
Beast.
on the commentary are not necessarily that of the.
Yeah, there's another band called My Brilliant Beast, and then that's a Simpsons reference.
Sure
and
it
then
is.
there's another. there's a band called Purple Monkey Dishwasher Collective.
No, that makes sense.
Yeah, that was a Simpsons
To Simpsons fans only.
reference. Yeah, to Simpsons fans only. Yeah, that's
Those all
Which is
real
not
for my-
PJ. That's why he's
really
asleep.
super obscure. But that is all, and I know that one because I came up with Purple Monkey Dishwasher as a band name and found out it had already been done, and I was so mad.
PD, you ever had a great band name? I know you don't care about music.
Skeet Knob.
Skeet
Knob
Knob,
is a good
yeah,
band name.
That was some weird thing.
yeah.
It was
that
a
was your
word
AOL
that came
screen
to you
name
in
for
a
a while.
dream, right?
I dreamt I was in a
Spell
band.
it first.
I dreamt I was in a band called Skeet Knob. SKEETKNOB.
You dreamed you were in that band.
That's really
I didn't
cool.
know that part.
I could make that because I'm second guessing Dogwater as a band name because I was on MySpace and I found them. I found a band called Dogwater,
Oh.
which kind of ticked me off. But they're like really young teenage boys from the looks of it. So who knows? I doubt that they have a big copyright on it.
Yeah.
and it could be all a matter of who gets famous first because that happened to Nirvana.
I will say that
You know?
that Skeet Knob was my AOL screen name for a while.
Yeah, it
and
was.
people always ask me if it had
Skeet
to do with
Ulrich.
Skeet Ulrich.
Yeah, like the stupidest
Of course
question
it is. You love
ever.
the Newton Boys.
So I think
Stupidest
Scream had
question
just
ever.
come out.
But yeah, I would totally take that as a band name if you allowed it. I'd forgotten about that. That
That
was
should be the name of the podcast, come to think of it. I forgot that word existed.
Skeet Knob.
Skeet Knob, Skeet Views.
Actually, my band name before Dogwater was also from a Simpsons Halloween episode. It was Daddy's Soul Donut.
Oh, yeah. I remember that.
And nobody
Let's go back
liked
to your
it.
old band names.
Actually,
was
nobody
that your
liked
first
it.
band officially Full Tilt Boogie?
Full Tilt Boogie, which
Tanya Pugsley played the, we'll cut her
The-
last name. Tanya Pugsley played the triangle.
Tanya played not the tambourine.
Tambourine.
Yeah,
Close enough.
slightly worse than a triangle. Slightly less necessary than a triangle. And she also whistled. We kept her in the band because she could whistle like really, really well. And we did the song because this was in the late '80s, early '90s. We did the song "Patience" by Guns N' Roses, which required whistling at the beginning. She's the only one who could do it. She did it perfectly. She looked weird while she was doing it, but I have a DVD of her whistling. It's hilarious.
I remember seeing some footage of that.
Those are good memories. My very first band, Full Tilt Boogie, we were like the size of Leonard Skinnerd, and like I don't know the quality of I'm trying to think of a really crappy band right now.
Did you guys have gigs as Full Tilt Boogie? Like, what did you do as a band?
We just played parties.
Parties.
We
okay.
we played basically every Saturday night, which was
Jehovah's Witness parties.
all witnesses. Yeah, we were all witnesses, and we loved the music of the day, like the '80s music. We did like '70s and '80s. We were doing like White Lion songs. Do you even know who they are?
I do.
We did White Lion's version of Golden Earrings Radar Love. And we did like Sweet Child of Mine and Patience and two Guns N' Roses songs. We did what else did we do? We did a lot of original songs too, which to this day our sort of unofficial leader, Melissa, is still
What if it was?
still we can say her last name at the time was Truman. She's not a Melissa Truman anymore. She's brilliant. I think she's a brilliant songwriter, and especially the last time I heard an original song of hers was back in like '99 or '98 actually. So it's been a long time since I've even seen her. But she had written some new songs in it, and I thought they were just fantastic. And I was to keep promoting myself shamelessly, I wrote a stage musical called Bob, and 2 acts, and I've always wanted...
Episode 21, Bob?
Yeah. Okay. No, kinda. I mean, it's not about him. My favorite book, my favorite work of fiction of all time is Great Expectations by Charles Dickens, and it's an adaptation.
I know, I read it on your Facebook.
It's a modern day adaptation of Great Expectations. And but it is based slightly on Bob Meacham too.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, the character itself is based on him.
Going back to your bands, what came next? It was Screech Owls, wasn't
Screech
it?
Owls.
Yeah.
We had decided
Pat
Sam
involved with that band?
Yeah.
Okay.
Pat was not in the first band. Sam and I decided that Full Tilt Boogie was way too big, way too out of control, with no direction.
And Tony
It'd be hard
Huxley
to
looking
get-
weird when she whistled.
Hard to get everybody to show up to those rehearsals and stuff.
Not necessarily that. No, we were pretty regular on that. It was just, I don't know. We just got bored. Sam and I got bored with it, and we decided to go the completely opposite direction and do a power trio. Instead of having 7 or 8 people in it, now it was just down to 3.
Would you
And it was-
consider us a power trio?
Right now, sure, why not?
I keep interrupting for no reason.
I remember finding I had a Pog that had 3 Screech Owls.
I
on
remember,
it, and
yeah.
it said Screech Owls on it.
Yep.
I think I gave it to you.
You did
it was
give it
probably
to
the
me.
best gift I ever gave you.
I think it
That's
was.
pretty,
Of course, then I promptly lost it. But because that's how appreciative I am of stuff. Yeah, so that was Screech Owls, and then we were like, that was the dawn of grunge, right there. It was like '91. So we were playing. We were writing songs, but we were doing, like, we did the song "Gun" by Soundgarden. Remember that?
Yeah.
From Louder Than Love. We used to do that song, and we were heavy and loud. You could hear us.
Okay, so MySpace.com.
MySpace.com/Dogwaterberry, Barry.
Dogwater was already taken?
Dogwater was already taken.
That's
So it's
unfortunate.
Dogwaterberry. There's 2 demo tracks on there that couldn't be more different from each other. Because one of them, first of all, is in mono, but it's called MAOI. The letters MAOI. The song is not about drugs, however. But the song was my attempt to write an entire song in only 2 chords, and
Okay.
the whole song is 2 chords. But it rocks. I think it absolutely rocks.
There's no vocals on either of these songs?
and either of them there aren't, because again, I'm not a singer, and I didn't have a singer when I recorded them.
I'm not a singer.
The
either.
second track
Doesn't
is
mean
called-
If you guys don't give me a song title right now, I won't belt it out.
The second track on there is called "Overture to a Dream," which is in full stereo.
Overture to a Dream.
Which is instrumental, and it was the original overture to Bob, to the musical.
Oh, okay.
How a musical has an overture, but I've recently changed it. Now it's going to be the beginning of the Dogwater CD, and Bob's getting a completely new overture.
Got you.
So I mix and match my music all the time. Shows that were like, or songs that were like rock songs became part of my musical, and vice versa.
Okay.
Stuff that was part of my musical is now like rock songs. Now it's weird. And I've also seriously gotten into writing country music.
I hear about this now.
Huh?
I've heard about this.
Okay.
Do you listen to country?
I do. I've always listened to country music. So less frequently, in some years, but there was always at least
What's your
one or two
favorite,
songs.
Paisley song?
I have no idea.
Let's talk about it.
Whiskey
I listen to
Rock.
I'll listen
That's
to
the only one I know.
there's a radio station called The Bull, and for the longest time I
bull.
thought
That is bull.
it's 92.9, and for a long time I thought I was happy because I thought the call letters were KBBL, which is from The Simpsons too, but
Sure
it
it is.
was KPBL, I think, or something like that, or KBPL. I was disappointed, but yeah, KPBL. But I was disappointed there. But anyway, I don't know artists or titles
KBBL is going to give me something
necessarily.
stupid.
Something stupid.
Sorry,
Where's
guys.
my
That was just for
elephant?
me and Barry. And the other 6
Not
nerds
to
out
mention
there.
all this music talk.
PJ's gone comatose.
You guys know "Gun" by Soundgarden?
Everybody does except for you. That's the thing that you don't understand. Like, you're only so bored because
Let's
you've
not
given yourself a
forget.
chance.
Let's not forget the great classic rock song PJ wrote himself, though.
Such an ugly face.
Such an ugly face. Let's talk
man.
about it. Barry, didn't you perform that a couple times?
I tried
At least to us.
I think I composed music to it at one time.
How old were you when you wrote that song?
When we recorded an episode about Nick's disgusting ex-girlfriend storytelling,
Episode 27 for those that don't know.
I had that. I wanted to, because my friend Ed is very musical as well.
He wrote our theme song,
And
which you probably heard.
Yeah, I have. Yeah, it's funny.
I was going to have him write the music for it and shoot a YouTube video where I'm sitting at a piano singing the song. And pictures of her are popping up.
Do you remember how it goes? Somebody belt out a
Oh,
line.
I know
please.
all the words.
Let's hear it, PJ, please.
Well, I don't know the tune that it would be in, but it was saw a little girl walking down the street, but I only looked from her waist down to her feet. At first, I thought it was true love until I looked up above, and I saw that she had such an ugly face. Her hair was puffed up really gross. Her neck was
Not a line.
her neck
Neck murders.
her neck was thick as a stop sign post. Her arms dangled down like garden hose, and there was something gross and red at the end of her nose. She
I
had
have that
such
right
an
now.
ugly face. Yeah,
You sure you wrote that?
that's it. That was me.
Shel Silverstein?
In about 3
Pretty
minutes.
sure. Pretty sure. Lights in the Attic. It was in the epilogue of Lights in the Attic. You are a fucking liar.
And then, yeah, I don't
the
get you
missing
music
piece.
references.
That wasn't a music reference. That was a kid poem reference.
Oh, like Where the Sidewalk Ends. I get it.
That's the
Yeah,
guy.
it's Joel Silverstein. Isn't he's dead now, right?
I hope so.
So too. I hate poetry.
And then you can, of course, go to youtube.com/btlemming. And there you're going to
Yeah.
see a
Well, you don't wanna
wonderful
promote this?
video.
No, yeah, absolutely. I've never.
seen it. I liked it.
I performed it. I performed 10 minutes of stand-up comedy, which was a dream.
Stand-up comedy.
A dream come true for me because I grew up listening to Billy Crystal, Robin Williams, Steve Martin, George
Steve
Carlin.
Martin, I understand. George Carlin, yeah. Sure.
I loved George Carlin. Even as a little kid, and I didn't get it. I still absolutely loved it. I would watch, I'd watch Saturday Night Live and then try to stay awake to watch Evening at the Improv, which was always on after where I was living anyway in Tacoma, and I'd usually end up falling asleep, but I'd fall asleep watching like Rodney Dangerfield and these great comedians on late night TV.
I remember
was obsessed with
a
it.
big period of my life I would fall asleep to the stand-up mixtapes you would make me.
Okay.
Stand-up comedy tapes.
Okay,
Okay,
you were good at
very
this.
cool. And like now, like I'm a fan of. I love Paul F. Tompkins. I love Brian Regan.
Paul F.
I
Tompkins'
love
Impersonal is one of the top 5 comedy
Greatest-
albums ever.
greatest comedy
You're
albums.
familiar with it also.
Absolutely
Michael Ian
hilarious.
Black's is also hilarious.
Michael Ian Black is really funny. Yeah,
Barry
that
was
one
saying that it had to grow.
had to
on
grow
him.
on me. I had to listen to it a couple of times.
Which is the same with me. I didn't like it so much the first time.
there are the comedians I hate. I can list the top 5 comedians I hate.
Dane Cook, number 1.
Nope, he's
Number
not
2.
even in the top 5. George Lopez.
Wait, revise your list and then come back. Number 1.
George Lopez.
You don't tell me to stop, PJ.
You
I am
stop
half
it.
of this fucking
You
show.
need to stop it, is what I'm getting at. I've been wanting to say this for 60 episodes. Just stop.
All right, I'll stop.
That was a fake fight, Barry.
All right.
Don't
Well,
get- don't get too
I just
concerned.
didn't know what the fake
I
fight
know
was
you're.
about.
I know you're going to take Nick's side. Don't worry.
Oh god, we're back to you being 6 again here. Let's see. George Lopez, Carlos Mencia, Chelsea Handler, Sarah Silverman, and Brian Posehn. I can't stand them.
You've thought about this a lot. I agree with you on everything except for Silverman and one other name you said.
Posehn.
Brian Posehn.
Oh, yeah, I love
I
him.
don't like Brian.
I've never
Posehn.
heard
I don't
Brian
think he's funny.
Posehn stand up. I enjoy Sarah Silverman's stand up.
I don't find her funny. Chelsea Handler to me is just
I think she's awful.
she's
not
just
just because
not
Jimmy
funny
Carter.
I was just going to ask.
to me. And like with Sarah Silverman, it was like there are more punchlines than vagina. It's like
Yeah.
so. But then I could say the same about Norm Macdonald. I know you probably don't like him, but Frank Caliendo does this. He's an impressionist.
When you said Norm Macdonald, I was with you.
Well,
Then you
Jim
said Frank
Gaffigan.
Caliendo.
Jim Gaffigan said in his Norm Macdonald voice, he goes, "Who needs a punchline when you have the word crack whore?" It's sort of like that's how I feel about Sarah Silverman. That's just like she's a one joke kind of person to me, and not a very funny one.
I want to fuck that joke so bad.
See, and that's the other thing. As everyone, like I read, Ebert's review of Jesus' Magic.
Oh, which he did not like.
He
correct?
did not like, but he kept talking about how oddly attracted he was to her.
Really?
Yeah, and like she's like attractive on some strange level that he couldn't. And I'm like, ugh, you know, I don't see. And everyone says that, and I don't see it at all.
I find her to be quite attractive.
And I'm a brunette lover too, and her just like ugh.
How about Jews?
Who?
Jews
Jew
in general.
lover?
What?
Jew lover?
Oh, Jew. Oh, I have no idea.
No, I'm
Obviously
calling you a
not.
Jew
Oh,
lover.
you're calling me a Jew
I'm
lover.
insulting you, Jew lover.
I'm assuming she's Jewish. Well,
She is indeed.
A great majority of the great comedians were Jewish. Jack
Albert
Benny.
Brooks.
Not to mention a
Jack
great
Benny is
majority
my-
of people with the last name Silverman.
Yeah. Oh, true. Jack Benny is my all-time favorite comedian. He
That guy-
died. He
that
died
guy?
like I was like 3 when he died. What?
I was going to make a joke. I was going to say, that guy flies kikes, asking if he was Jewish, but go fly a kite.
Yeah, Jack. Well, he was born Benjamin Kubelski. So
Ouch.
yeah. So he
Rough
became
time
Jack
in school.
Benny. George Burns. Just a word of warning to anyone who listens to my stand-up. This was done at a talent show of a group of witnesses, Jehovah's Witnesses.
Uh-huh.
So some of my jokes kind of refer to that. So if you're not,
I
sort
thought
of
that
in
was
the
better
know-
though. I was a little
Okay, I
surprised
was
by
saying
that.
if you're not in the know,
I think
might
if you
not
are
get
Jehovah's
it.
Witness and you're performing to Jehovah's Witness crowd, that's
Yeah.
the jokes they want to hear.
It's
I
like-
thought that was very interesting.
Well,
actually.
after I was done, again, a majority of your leaders may not, or listeners may not get this. I hate it when I
hey,
drink.
we're the leaders.
I hate it when I drink. Even a little bit, I just start fumbling words so bad. But I wanted to end. I didn't think of this till after it was over. I said, you know what I love about performing for a group of my fellow witnesses is I can, at the end of the act, I can honestly say, hey, you were a great crowd.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Which to them would have been hilarious. Everyone else, just like, I don't get it.
It's a very specific humor.
It's very
But,
inside, yeah.
Comedians can make jokes about Jehovah's Witnesses, and when
Oh,
they
yeah.
do, I usually enjoy them. What was Stephen Wright's joke?
99%
Who's going to survive the earthquakes, guys?
Yeah, hookers and Jehovah's
Standing
Witnesses.
in
Yeah,
doorways.
standing in doorways. Hookers and Jehovah's Witnesses. Right.
Speaking of your stand-up, I think we'll put that up as the YouTube video this week. MySpace.com/Plan Brotherhood.
But also,
All right.
YouTube.com.
If you don't mind.
No, I don't mind.
YouTube.com/BT Lemming if you want to see it on YouTube.
Leave a comment.
Yeah. Also, there's a video of PJ's daughter on there.
That's
So
the real reason to go
that's
to
the real reason to go to it because she's just
YouTube.com/.
too
She is
cute.
adorable.
I labeled it Sophie the Maid because she's cleaning up spilled bong water on the floor. I think.
I don't think it was bong water.
Man, we're gonna get taken down from YouTube. Barry, calm down.
It's not bong water.
Actually, my ex-wife actually commented on that video saying that she was like cleaning up spilled vodka or something
I'll
like
tell her
that.
to go fuck herself. I'm gonna go fuck Fat Beardo or whatever his name is.
I
He's
think his
not
name
fat,
was Fat
actually.
Beardo. Let's go back.
He's actually really skinny.
Nah, I saw his picture. He's fat ass.
Is he really? And then it's been a while since I've seen him, like 7 months.
I visit
And I
them.
saw him
I visit
accidentally.
them once every couple
He,
of
he
months.
tried to friend request me on
What a
on
dick move.
on MySpace when I got my
That is a
MySpace
dick
music.
move.
He friend requested me, and also he friend requested me on YouTube. He subscribed to my videos. When you look at my subscriptions, his is the first face, and it's been
I
there
will look at
forever.
Punch's virtual face.
Hey,
Amber
looks
Amber
fat.
also subscribed to my videos, but she did that a long time ago though. But or no, actually no, because no, you can't subscribe if you don't actually have videos up, huh?
I don't know.
I have no idea.
So it
All I
wasn't
know is
until
that
I
guy's
put
a
stand up on
dickhead.
there.
It sounds like that's a big virtual fuck you to you, and that's not cool.
Kinda, he's trying to be my
No,
buddy.
he's not.
He's been trying to smooth things over. Supposedly,
No, he's not.
Like
No,
he sends
he's
me.
not.
No, there's no reason.
he
to.
was just
still
let it go.
fucking your wife.
Yeah, he's still
He's
living with her.
being an idiot.
Yeah, well, I know.
He needs to not talk to you.
Yeah, I know.
That's
and
the
I've
only
made that.
move to
and
make.
I've made
and
that.
he, you know,
I told him that too.
you did.
I told him. I said we can never be friends.
Well, that's good.
Essentially, I don't know if I use those exact words, but he got the point. We can't be friends. I mean, it's just not going to work.
PJ and Alvina do a couple things.
I
with
can't
him,
be
but not
friends-
because they enjoy it.
If I can't be friends with Amber, why am I going to be friends with him?
Exactly.
You know.
Exactly.
And the thing is, like, talking to Amber, I talked to her recently on the phone because her grandpa died. So I just called to make sure she was okay, and I was just looking for an excuse to talk to her because I missed her. And I after it was over, I equated Amber, like, to me, it's like a euphoric drug that has a really bad crash. Because, like, talking to her, we talked for like 40 minutes. I had a blast. I mean, we're talking about her dead grandpa and laughing, you know, and just making all these jokes and all these references and everything. And then as soon as I hung up the phone, I wanted to go friggin' kill myself. You know?
Yeah.
It was horrible, and I was like, I can't keep putting myself through that.
And you shouldn't.
It's just way too hard. And it's just like the worst crash from Euphoria ever. And I don't know. So our conversations are much less frequent. And she feels like she's like, I never have a best friend like you again, and you know, no one gets my jokes and no one gets my references. And I'm like, really, all my friends do. You know, like everyone I know has some sort of aspect of them that is similar to hers that I can relate to. Like friends who are Simpsons fans, friends who are Brian Regan fans, friends who are, yes, I watch Gilmore Girls fans, you know, stuff like that. So I can make all those jokes, or The Office or something like that. A lot of pop culture references. I can make jokes like that. And apparently she doesn't have that in her life anymore. I'm like, well, darn.
That's one of the most important things. Not to sound shallow, but you need.
It is.
You need
it is. You need to, you know, laugh and have these things that you're, I don't know, that you can reference.
That only makes sense to you, her, and whoever watches NBC.
There's a girl I know who makes me feel so good, and I wouldn't live without her, even if I could. They call her Valerie. I love Valerie. Oh yeah, come on.
I'm glad you could finish up so fast and come to do part 2, and that you could finally be on. I want to tell you, it's been a real pressure.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.